We got Harbaugh to the Browns. You hear that, you say what, good sir?
I mean, I think it'd be a slam dunk. I think for the Browns, just where they are as an organization, like, they need new juice. Even Kevin Stefanski, like, he should be a serious candidate for a lot of places, but that's kind of the NFL. You have to find the right fit. And I think when you look at what John Harbaugh brings to the table, he's like a true CEO coach, right? Like, and he's going to be best for organizations that are looking for stabilization. That's what he provided to the Baltimore Ravens. And I think it was even a tough decision for them to move on from him for that reason, because he is such a staple. He is such a leader, and he's able to kind of galvanize the entirety of the organization. And the Browns desperately need that. For the Baltimore Ravens, it's like, hey, we're trying to win a Super Bowl. And it feels like we'd be closer without you than we are with you. And I think for the Browns, it's the opposite. If you give them stabilization, if you give them the ability to compete for the playoffs year in, year out, as John Harbaugh did with the Ravens, I mean, that's a slam dunk, home run, every other cliche that you can think of.
So let's stick on this subject of the Cleveland Browns' next head coach. It was reported that Mike McDaniel will also interview with Cleveland. That interview is happening today. Does he make more sense to you to be the Browns' next head coach?
I think he makes sense in the way that the Browns are currently constructed, right? I think as a organizational structure, you know, with the people that they have in place, from Andrew Berry and the things that I know have shown to be important for the Cleveland Browns, I think Mike McDaniel makes a lot of sense, because not only has he been a part of that culture before, so he kind of understands the stakes a little bit. I think it's a great case scenario for him where they're wanting their head coach to be the offensive play caller or to be a coordinator. They want you to shore up one side of the ball. And as it pertains to offensive minds, and I've said this for years, there is nobody that I respect more than Mike McDaniel. A few I can say as much, but absolutely nobody more. And so I think you get a home run because you get a little bit of the 2-for-1, where I think actually for Mike, it probably bodes well for him in that kind of an opportunity.
You also mentioned earlier Kevin Stefanski, that he's a great coach. He's going to get interviews. He's going to be, a very highly touted coach in this cycle, but his time just kind of ran out in Cleveland. From your perspective, why did the team, the organization, the locker room just kind of stop responding to Kevin Stefanski?
I can't speak to like what it's like in the locker room with Kevin Stefanski. I can just go off of what I see when I'm around, or what we kind of all have access to as far as just his demeanor and who he is. I think he's a fine coach. I think he's a good coach. I think he's a smart coach. I think, he's climbed the ranks, and, that's not easy to do in the league. I think for the Browns and for what his tenure there, which obviously we've read all the headlines, seen all the turmoil, different years, different quarterbacks come through there, different, whatever you want to call it. I don't feel like he was the kind of coach to kind of grab the reins when the team probably needed it. I think he is a soft-spoken guy. I think he is, stoic at moments, but I think ultimately you can't remember one soundbite from Kevin Stefanski, whether in a press conference, whether on a sideline, whether in a behind the scenes that they do so much of in Cleveland, where it's like, oh, well, damn, he is charging this team to the right place. And again, that's not everybody's style. That's not Tony Dungy's style either, but it worked if given the right scenario, right players, right team, right time. And I just felt like for Kevin, there were moments where they needed that, and that just wasn't his style.
All right, then I'm going to make you the next head coach of the Cleveland Browns. I'm Andrew Berry in this situation. I call Hawk to them. I say, Hawk, congratulations. You get the job. My question for you is a simple one. You've got Shedeur. Do you have your starting quarterback?
Ooh, out the gate, day one of the job. Can I get a check clear first, Fitzy? Is that okay? Before you start putting me on the spot like this.
We'll let you get
do
paid
I have the quarterback? Here's what I think. Here's my thing on Shedeur. I think Shedeur competes to be a starter. I think if there is a quarterback in the draft you fall in love with in the first round that you have access to get, I do not think he's done enough to pass that up. That does not mean that that's going to be the scenario. Just looking at the quarterbacks this year, I haven't gone deep into my analysis bag yet, but outside of Fernando Mendoza, you could probably get a steal, depending on, Chambliss, if he's around. Don't know if he will be. Moore has had ups and downs as well. So if you don't have a quarterback you are in love with, Shedeur could absolutely be your starter. Now, there are things Shedeur has to get better at. He has to mature it. And in the NFL, it's not a matter of if he can or he can't. It's will he get the opportunity to? Because that's not how the NFL works, right? Like, you don't get, this isn't college. We're not building you up. And even now, college is not that way, but we're not giving you multiple years to figure this thing out. But the things that, in my opinion, that Shedeur brings to the table are the ones that you can't really teach. Where he has to be a little better is operationally. Being able to make that decision of when to take what's given to you versus always trying to get the play, always trying to create more time, sometimes at the detriment of your offense, at the detriment of your team, and at the detriment of your performance, retreating in the pocket, aimlessly running around only to make a bad decision by throwing across your body. But the thing that's special about him is when the moments get thick, Shedeur is at his best. You can't teach that. Shedeur does not back down from good defenses, good players. He is a risk taker. You can't teach that because the NFL is a scary place, especially for quarterbacks. They do everything they can to get the ball out of their hands as fast as they can. They do whatever is safe as possible, anything to circumvent criticism, circumvent losing your status, circumvent, people making a definitive choice that you are not a guy. Shedeur doesn't have any of that problem. So the other piece of it is on him. The other piece of it is in his offseason training, in his film study. How much time can you put in there to get better? Because if he can do that, he absolutely can be a starting quarterback. But there's a lot of big ifs in that.
All right, so let me keep trying to pin you in here, Hawk. That's a good thing we're friends. So hear me out. Harbaugh's coming from a two-time MVP. Why in the hell would somebody go from a two-time MVP to a franchise where you just told me, like, can compete, and if he's not the guy, maybe we get a – like, there's no clear, true path to knowing you have a quarterback in Cleveland. Why would Harbaugh go from having the absolute best of the best at the position to having I could, maybe, at the position?
Yeah, because number one, Harbaugh's not going anywhere where everything isn't in his favor. He's John Harbaugh. He's not some hot offensive coordinator in the league looking for his first job and scared he's going to get fired in year 1 or 2 because his quarterback doesn't play well. And then the second part is you're a Hall of Fame coach. Either you're a good coach or you're not. If the situation is right for you, you go in there and fix it. That's what good coaches do. It's not that you're trying to set the table for things to be as easy as possible. Of course, we all want good quarterbacks, right? The Browns have won a good quarterback for 30, 40 years, but they have not been able to find one or they haven't been able to set the environment to a place where those quarterbacks can thrive. So for John Harbaugh, this is what you're special at. You are not an offensive guru. You're not a defensive guru. You are a guy that builds organizations, and also you have a high IQ of people and players and know what they need and know what makes them good and what makes them tick. So you can build the culture of players there on top of the organization to say, hey, I'm going to build this team in place the way that I want it. So for me, is that too much of a project for John Harbaugh at the moment? Maybe. But I think it will come down to, okay, who is going to give him the power that he's looking for? Who's going to give him, enough of the other things that allow him to do his job the way that he thinks he can, as opposed to, hey, give me the best quarterback I can get. Yeah, obviously, if you get, if you could have another Lamar Jackson out there, awesome. Because to be honest, if Lamar Jackson hadn't gone to the Ravens, he wouldn't have been the Ravens coach 8 years ago, right? So yes, it makes it easier. But I think in this world of like the things that I feel like are important to John Harbaugh in this place in his career, that's going to be a part of it. But I don't think it'll be the end all be all of like, hey, either you have a quarterback or not, or I'm not coming.
Well said. Let's stick in the AFC North, but move to Cincinnati. And the Bengals have missed the playoffs the last 2 years, but they are retaining their head coach, Zac Taylor. Do you agree with that?
I can't say if I agree with it. I know that it's the way that the Bengals have always done things. Like, they do not like to pay a coach to not do a job. That is not their style, right? And so they're going to give him every chance because that's just who they are. Like, and the players are the same way. So when you're going into free agency as a Bengal, you just know that they're going to offer you less money. And we've seen it play up many, many times, year in and year out, with the Bengals players and the front office about where they are as far as what they think their value is and not. It will always be an offseason topic in Cincinnati to the end of time because how they look at things, and they're no different with their coaches. How we view you in this moment is how we view you. The minus to that is we'll probably pay you less than everybody else right now. But in a year or two, when that other team's GM gets fired and or the fans and the media aren't as high on you in 3 years as they were at the moment, or in a year from now, and where everyone else is going to cut you and your guarantees will be your guarantees, that's not how the Bengals operate. How we value you right now is how we're going to value you pretty much to the end of the contract. And they get burned by that a lot of times, and sometimes it's on the other end. So for Zac Taylor, I think he's benefiting at the moment from that strategy from the Bengals of like, hey, we signed this deal for this and many years. We view you. We're going to give you every opportunity to be what we already thought because we have our convictions the moment we do that signing. So for players, it's like you'll see less money in the headline, but you'll make more money because you're probably going to see the end of this deal.
All right, Hawk, there's one thing that we can all agree on. Wide receivers are the worst, right? And so A.J. Brown out there. A.J. Brown out there on the sidelines having a Sirianni moment. As a former NFL wide receiver, how do you fix what's happening with A.J. Brown and the Eagles?
I mean, I don't know if you fix anything, man. I think it's time, bro. I don't know. I just feel like I've said this multiple times. It's hard to win in the NFL. It's hard to get open in the NFL. It's hard to win Super Bowls in the NFL. It's hard to duplicate success the way the Eagles had a year ago in the NFL. There's just way too many damn distractions. And I mean, and that's not, it could be absolutely Sirianni's fault. He could be talking to the OC and being like, to hell with him, don't give him that many targets. Throw it to Devontae Smith instead. Let's build a play right around it. It could be AJ's fault, where he's a diva and he only wants the ball his way. But the reality is AJ is a top 5 talented wide receiver. You are paying him as such. And for AJ, no one cares about the quote-unquote ability. Like, what do your numbers say? Because the next contract you get is going to be predicated off of what the numbers say. AJ probably understands that. Yes, it is not focusing solely on the Super Bowl, but as players, you got to be able to have your cake and eat it too. That's just the reality of it. Like, I want to win, absolutely, but I also want to maximize my value in my profession. And if the Eagles aren't utilizing you like the top 5 receiver we're paying you like, it doesn't make sense for them, and it also doesn't make sense for you. And it also, you throw into that, now that you're not winning, now you got sideline spats, now you have a new quote or a new article written every week. Who is this good for? It is time. Do not stay together for the children. It's time to go.